Okay, good morning, everybody. This is Clutch here from the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. Sunday morning, it is the 17th of January, and it's not terribly early. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, but hey, it's a Sunday morning, so I'm going to sleep in. Why not? But got my coffee here. We're going to talk to you a little bit about this Iron Butt series. So, last month we did part one, and in part one, if you remember, we went through the assess part of this. Basically, you kind of assessed yourself, you assessed your motorcycle, you assessed the gear you had, you kind of made your way through it to see, hey, is this something I can actually do? Well, now you've made it through that part. Now you're in part two. This comes to planning the run. This is another very important step. I suggest for your first one that if you're one of those wing it types, I suggest if you've never completed an Iron Butt run before, I would suggest you do not go with that approach for this one. I would suggest that you actually legitimately plan this out. Now, if you've done many runs before, granted, I'm not really designing this series for Iron Butt veteran, but if you're someone that's done this run many, many times before, honestly, you probably can wing it because you probably got a good idea of where you're going. Maybe you've been through there before. You know what to look for, you know what to expect. But for your first one, this is the run where I just wing it. Let's not do that. Now, what I would do if I were you, I'd find like 4 or 5 places that you want to go. And you kind of want to do it approximately like 500 miles. I'd say 500 miles away if you want to do a turn and burn, or 1,000 miles if you're going to go one way, if you're doing the Saddle Sore 1000. So I'll show you what I do here when I go through it. All right, so going through picking your stops, I kind of show you kind of what I do to do this. Now, you can use any app. I use Google Maps because, frankly, I think it's probably the easier one to use. So what we're going to do, so this is the station I've started at before. There's a little deal on the bottom here. It's called measure distance. And so you'll set a mark there. Now what you can do, that will tell you how much distance you've gone. What's nice about this is you can click on your distance and you can move it. So hey, right there. So there's about 500 miles. You can kind of get an idea of what your 500-mile radius will be when you're doing your distance. So let's see, what's 500 miles gets me? There's a couple places you can go, yeah, this isn't perfect, but, it can get me down to Colorado. It can get me out into Montana. It's a lot of places that can get you, and it's a good way to kind of start you off on, well, where do you want to go exactly? And it doesn't have to be completely 500. Obviously, nothing really is straight in this world as far as roads, but you can decide on a lot of places. So, few places I've decided for doing this run at first. All right, I thought about maybe going out towards Buffalo, New York, kind of going around the tip here. Also thought about the Mackinac Bridge, that's just under 900 miles, which you can easily make that 1,000 miles. Also Las Vegas, Nevada is another place I thought of doing this. Now obviously because I'm doing the 500 mile, I might go a little further, but you kind of see the message. This little tool here really helps get you an idea for measurements as to where you're going and when you're going. When you plan your route, you figure, okay, let's say you figured out you're gonna find 4 or 5 places to go. So let's say for example's sake, we're gonna go to Mackinac Bridge. When you're making that route, you're going to want to make multiple routes, multiple stops. You're going to want to see multiple ways to get there, just because that's going to be the best way to get you an idea of where you're going. Ideally, I would say you're going to want to stick to the interstate. The interstates it's just easier to get you there. You don't have to deal with slowing down for small towns. The speeds are pretty steady. You don't have to deal with stoplights. You don't have to deal with any of that. You basically, other than a traffic jam, that's really all you got to worry about on the interstate. So if you can, I would say stick to the interstates, especially if you're on the eastern part of the country. A lot of those roads out there, you're going to get a lot more opportunities to gain ground when you're on the interstate. Now, if you're in the western part of the country, kind of west, just once you get past the Mississippi River and west, you get out here, you can probably go down the highways pretty and still gain a decent amount of time, especially out here where there's a lot less towns from between point A and B. So you could probably use your side roads a lot more once you get out here. But for the most part, I would still stick to the interstate, because the other thing you get on the interstate is you get more people, more services. If you have a problem, there's chances are someone's going to come along. Whereas if you're on a 2-lane road in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming, chances are there may not be someone to come by for quite a while. So keep that in mind. You're plotting out your points, I would get like a 20-40 mile buffer. You don't want to go to like just 1,001 miles on Google and call it good. Like, I would add 20-40 miles just to be safe. You never know, the measurements might be wrong. The app might be doing something different, might be doing something screwy with you. You know, there might be something weird going on. So make sure you have some kind of a mileage buffer. Now, when you're picking your stop points, or turnaround points, make sure the points have an ability to get you a dated time receipt. We've talked about that before. You want to have a dated time receipt available. Or if you can't get that, you want to have the ability to have people so you can have them fill out one of the witness statements for the Iron Bud Association. That's why I'd say truck stops are probably your best bet. The nice thing about truck stops, for the most part, they're 24/7 staffed. So if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, you have a receipt issue, you can go in, someone can get you the right receipt you need. Or chances are you're going to find someone working there that would probably be possibly willing to sign your witness statement. But for the most part, the nice part about that, if you got someone that's working the till, they can easily get your credit card and they can give you a reprinted receipt with all the information you need on it for that run. So that's why I tend to stick to your truck stops, just because they generally have people. If it's middle of the day, random gas station, that's fine. But especially if it's middle of the night, make sure you're at a truck stop. Another thing is you want to always have a contingency plan. Always have it. So, because let's be honest, things do not go right. I talked about in the last video, the iron butt gremlins tend to like to come out. It's kind of a fact of matter anytime you do one of these rides. Something weird, something goofy is going to happen. So make sure you have some kind of a contingency plan, whether it's a different route to where you're going, it's a whole different place you're going. Right now at this point, I have two saddle sore 1500, or actually I have three saddle sore, I have three bun burners 1500s right now in the bank that I'm going to do. And I've got my primary one I'm going to do. I have a backup one to that, and then I also have a different one. Two of them are going to the same location. The other one's going to a completely different location. But either way, I've got three plans for my ride just in case things were to happen. As in, for example, one of the runs to one particular place, the one I got two routes to, one of it goes through one state that it's really kind of sketchy right now and you probably already can figure out which one this is, but they're pretty stringent about their traveling there, it seems like. And it's actually one of the places where I was going to spend the night after my first 1,000 miles of the 1500, and it's still kind of a lot of gray areas what they're going to be when it comes to May. So what I did was I did another route that gets me the same route. I think I ended up having to add a half hour, an hour to it, but it takes me completely out of that state. I completely avoid it in general, so that way if that comes up, I have the ability to go a different direction. You want to have several different plans, several different ways to get there, because things do happen, and things also happen on the road. When you're deciding what you're going to use for your stops, make sure that you factor in how far you can get on a tank of fuel on your bike. Now, and I'm not saying you can just barely get 200 miles, so you're going to plan every stop 200 miles. No, that's not what you want to do. You want to, kind of like I said just before with the 20 to 40 mile buffer in your route as far as not stopping right at 1,000. Also, you're going to want to if your tank absolutely will get you 200 miles, maybe plan your stops at like 150, 160. And this is because if you happen to take off and you catch a gnarly headwind or something like that, that's going to slow down your fuel mileage considerably. So make sure that you have that. I'd say at least a 20 to 40 mile buffer, maybe more. So my bike, I can make it about probably about 220, 230. So the most my stop's going to be is probably maybe 200 miles at the most. I have a couple that are at like 200, but then it's maybe one or two. So make sure that you keep that in mind, because you don't want to run out of fuel, because, well, that's pretty much going to ruin your run, because it's probably going to take a while for fuel to get to you, or for you to walk to the gas station. All right, so let's say, hey, here we go. We're going to go to the bridge, all right? So there's our 1,000, so we're 1,087 miles, right? So obviously we're going to start working in some places to stop, and because I've done this before, I kind of already know that, yeah, Vivian, I'm going to have going to add that, but we're not. Obviously, you're going to look, if you're going to Mackinac, obviously you're probably going to want to stay here, so you're going to want to figure that information out. Put your stops in, obviously. As you can see, my couple stops here I got so far, 165 miles, 175 miles, so not too bad for stops in between. Anyways, I'm not going to bore you with the going through and doing every route, but like I said, the biggest things is, and it's quick, obviously going to be quicker for me because I've actually read through this before, but yeah, biggest thing is staying with truck stops. So all right, so to Hartford, like I said, we were at 175, getting to Albert Lee was 180, Tomah's 170. So once again, we're keeping up with the whole, making sure and keeping our stops at, under my 200 mile kind of trip, or my 200 mile goal there. Next thing you're going to want to do when you're planning is you're going to want to find a day to do it. So there's some runs. Obviously, there's the winter solstice runs. There are all the solstice runs you can do at a winter solstice, spring, summer, or the summer equinox, all that stuff. There's all those runs. They've got several day runs. You can do one on New Year's Day. You can do one on Christmas Day. I think all the holidays have one. There's a Martin Luther King Day one, Junior Day one, and there's certain things you got to do with it. So the biggest thing is find a day to do it. I don't think, really kind of do that with what your day off, how that works. For me, the day I'm doing is I'm going to take an extra day off from work because I work Monday through Thursday. So I'm going to take the Thursday before Memorial Day off, and I'm going to go that day because I can do 1,000 miles that Thursday. I can do 500 miles on that Friday. And then that gives me Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to come back home to go to work again on Tuesday. Also, you're going to want to figure out the time of day to do it. Now, me personally, I'm one of those people, I like to finish in daylight or right about sunset because I like to be in the dark when I'm fresh. I tend to, when the sun goes down, once the sun goes down, and I'm tired, that's when I tend to just get really, really tired really quick. So I found that I'm actually much better if I get up when it's dark out and I do all my beginning driving in the dark. So that way I'm more fresh in the dark. And then once you get towards the end of the day, the sun's going down, at least I can still see stuff. I'm not quite fresh. And like I said, once you hit that sunset, that's usually when I'll start to crash. So you have to figure out for yourself what time of day works for you. And I'd say figuring out the time of day, the best bet would be figure out what time you want to get a place and kind of back plan it from there. Another thing you need to be mindful of is traffic. So depending on the time of day, there's some places that are a bad idea. Downtown Chicago, for those of you who've been through there in the middle of the day, that's a really bad idea. Like you're going to lose a lot of time trying to get through downtown Chicago in the middle of the day. And frankly, you're going to lose a lot of time if you're going through there from like 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning until probably 10 o'clock at night. So if you're going through a place like that, maybe take the bypass around the cities. Also, consider your road construction because, well, you get to a place, and same deal, if there's a lot of traffic area and they're doing road construction, that's going to kill your time as well, because it takes a lot of time to filter a full interstate into that's 2 lanes into a single lane. And so it's going to be a lot of sitting around and waiting time in traffic for these construction projects. So I would do yourselves a favor and go check the state DOTs for every state you're going through, and just to get an idea of what kind of construction projects you're going through. And lastly, when you're doing your recon, consider the weather. I cannot reiterate this enough. And especially reiterate this if you're going up over, let's say, the Rocky Mountains. Because, yeah, it's great. Because even my run, if I'm going up over, even my run on Memorial Day, yes, it's Memorial Day and it's probably not going to be snowing in the mountains, but there's still a possibility. If it's a wet weekend or something, the Rocky Mountains could be out of question if I don't want to drive through snow, which I don't. Who wants to ride a motorcycle through snow? Well, not me. So make sure you keep that weather in mind big time, especially if you're going over the Rockies and it's not, June through August. Keep that in mind, because it doesn't take much. All it takes is one crazy low pressure system with a lot of moisture in it to drop down into Colorado and drop the temperature down to cause a big time mess up there when you're getting up over 8,000, 9,000 feet up into the mountains. So please factor that in. And weather in general, just keep the weather in mind when you're doing your runs, because let's be honest, it's 1,000 miles or 1,500 miles. You're doing it in 24 hours. You're covering a lot of ground, and a lot of things can change weather-wise in that amount of time. So please keep the weather in mind. Absolutely keep it in mind. You should be doing this in general anyway because you ride a motorcycle, but always have the weather on the back of your mind. And that is it for the planning part. So my homework for you for over the next month till we get ready to the preparation, or to the preparing step, is get your plan, get a good solid plan developed, get a couple contingencies figured out as well. And whatever you got for plans, heck, let me know in the comments what you got. And I'm excited to see what people have for plans for this year. Be looking for next month. We're going to go through the preparing part, and it should be next month as long as I can get out and ride, because some of that video is actually going to involve me on the motorcycle, kind of showing you some preps out riding around. Otherwise, be looking out for, we've still got my favorite ride episodes coming out throughout the next few months up through April, so be keeping an eye out for those. Also, if you decide that, hey, you know what, I want to support the Sodak Motorcycle Blog, but I want to do a little bit more than just liking videos or liking, subscribing, I got a little link you can find here at the bottom of this video, and it's called Buy Me a Coffee. You click on that and you buy me 1 cup. It's a $5 donation to the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. And also, I do have something special for you. If you buy, the first person that buys me 3 cups of coffee, which is $15, you get to have yourself this t-shirt right here. This nice little Sodak Motorcycle Blog t-shirt. So the first one that does that, that buys me 3 of them, like I said, that buys me 3 cups of coffee on that, I'm going to reach out to you. I'm going to get your address. I'm going to send you one of these t-shirts. Also, we're getting pretty close to 100 subscribers, so we want to get it there. So, and whoever the 100 subscriber is, the same deal. I will reach out to you, and you will also get one of these shirts. So keep that in mind. So if you're look at it right now. If it happens to be sitting there at 99 subscribers, just click subscribe right now, and I will reach out to you, and I will mail you a t-shirt on my dime. So, like I said, if it's at 99, you want to do it, just go ahead and do it. Come on, I know somebody out there wants free prizes. Everybody loves free stuff, right? So, anyways, once again, I'm Clutch from the Sodak Motorcycle Blog. Wishing you well, have a good day, and keep the rubber side down and enjoy the ride.